Hello people and welcome to BTG. This is your host, Mr. Shaker. You may know for such songs as After Call and You Shoulda Took the. And today I wanted to continue off with my Black Lives Matter statement. Now, like I said, the main issue I do have with them is that the notion that they only want to focus on the individuals that are, I can say, potential criminals, but yeah, they do focus on individuals that just have encounters with the police. That's the only form of protest they have focused on, which for me is kind of selective when you think about it. I'm thinking of all of the types of issues that people might have, such as education, and it was just, I'm thinking similar to how you think of the NAACP. You would just want them to focus on the concept of black meaning, even though it's like, okay, focus on the black people, but then focus on other individuals as well. Similar to how MLK was, or as I was stating, the Black Panther Party was back in the day. Even though they themselves were a bit selective, just because of what you think about it. Like I was stating in the previous videos that black was considered one of the lowest forms of humanity, to the point where some were not even considered human. So it only makes sense that you help out them. It reminds me of I remember this one article I read where they stated where the Black Panthers, the Black Panthers received some responses from these other students who were white, and they asked them, "How could I help out?" And they stated by making the White Panthers, like make another organization and talk about similar issues, and that was it, which was a bit different from Malcolm X, where he stated. Where, at least in this one movie I've seen, the one with Denzel, where he played Malcolm X, and they asked him, "What can we do to help out?" He says, "Well, you gotta focus on your own race. You gotta focus on your own race." And that was mostly his idea, that you can't help us out, and just mostly, be separate. The only reason why I wanted to be separate is, well, it reminded me of the same thing that what's his name, Muhammad Ali stated, where some right-wing individuals, not really conservative, but mostly in the alt-right sector, they cite the video of Muhammad Ali stating, "Oh, the bluebirds with the bluebird." I'll post a link to that. I'll post a link to that video. He said the bluebirds fly with the bluebirds. And everything else. And they talk about diversity, and they say, "See, why can't you just stick with your own race? See, he accepts it." Well, you gotta look at the time period. That was during Jim Crow, and that was a time period where if you did want to date someone of a different ethnic background, like he said, it's just too much of a hassle. And not even because of. And the issue is, you gotta look at how he was indoctrinated. He came from a time period where, if you were to do that, it was a lot of work to date someone from different. They just had different skin color. As soon as you did that, there were problems. So you can't really cite that as a valid source. You could now, if you want to do that now, sure. If someone prefers that, sure, go ahead. I just always find an issue with that, not as them accepting it, because if you want to do that, sure, by all means. It reminded me of the one black woman where I've seen this years ago, where she wanted the Black Knight or something, like she's like, "I want the white knight, or like the black guy to come through and sweep her up off of her feet." And it's like, do you have to? What if they're not black? What if you enjoy someone's company who happens to not be black, and romantically enjoy it? In that regard, for what I'm doing now, I'm trying to count the steps to the other side, just so I can try to connect the tunnel I'm currently in with the other part. But anyways, as I was stating, she wanted to focus on basically on their race, and it's like, if they aren't in it, if they're not part of that skin color, then by all means, if you want to date them, date them. That's supposed to be the idea now. But for me, I just find it kind of odd where someone says I only want to stick to the own race. Like, see, for me, I guess it can make sense for Caucasian individuals, but not that much, though. I mean, I know for black individuals, kind of I would just say I want to stick with my own race, and just how black people are, as Red Fox was stating, we look like a handful of walnuts, just the different shades. And it's like you say, stick with their own people. I mean, you got dark skin, light skin, in the middle, a bit mocha. Some people are albino, still black. Have you ever seen the one, like the individuals that were in American Horror Story, and also the one of the antagonists in Black Lightning? I think his name is rapper. He's a rapper. His name is Quando. That actual individual that plays him, that plays the antagonist in Black Lightning, is albino, but is still, I mean, still is black. However, is albino. And the thing is, when you say that concept, I want to stick with my own race, do you mean those features? Because it's kind of, to be technical, it's kind of odd to even have that preference. Because even if you look at, I remember I saw one girl in my school where she was kind of, a bit darker, could have been Latino, maybe Italian. I don't even know where her origins were. She could have been Pakistani, I'm not sure. But I mean, she was passing technically for white. So for me, I'm just thinking of that individual. Would someone say, "Oh, I want to stick with my own race," and she's like, my family actually have origins in Europe. Does she get accepted? So it's kind of an odd concept when people make a silly statement such as that. But anyways, as I was stating though, I think the issue is that the individual was only focusing on police brutality. And I mean, of course, the individuals that day in the museum, they were upset, and of course, you would be upset. You were in a protest, just came from a protest. I'm thinking in the concept of we're on holy ground, so to speak. This is a bit pious at the moment, so why don't we just accept it? But no, they couldn't turn that down because once you're mad, you're just stuck in that concept. So my issue is that since these individuals were mad and they just wanted to, they were staying that way, and then, that was on them. My thing was just that, why couldn't they, I'm thinking you would at least try to come together, because I've seen people that were there, and, well, at the museum at least, and they were fine. Like, I mean, I could just say different races, I'm getting tired of even saying that word just because, just how silly the concept is. Like I was watching this one show called Clever Man where the individuals, they consider themselves black, the Aborigines, and they look almost as though they're from India or Pakistan. They look like they're from that region. So my thing is, it's just funny how someone look at them, oh, they're not really black. I remember someone actually thought because someone was from Brazil, and I was watching the one movie, City of God, and he said, well, they're not really black. And I mean, what do you mean? They are in America just like everyone else. These are the Americas. Even though South America is still the Americas. Most of the slaves actually went to those countries. And I think and I'm thinking they share similar history, even though it's slightly different. And I'm thinking, why can't they focus on, why should you deny someone that privilege of that title just because they're from a different nationality? It reminds me off of Luke Cage where the guy said, we don't want no blah blah blah. We want black, Harlem black, straight black. And I'm thinking, so okay, you just made that separation. It reminds me of how Hitler was when he had the Aryan nation, where he only considered German people to be at the forefront, to be at the top, but the Aryan individuals, the blonde hair and blue eye individuals, to be even above the German individuals. But it's only if mostly they had German descent, that's great, but then if you have blonde hair and blue eyes, then you're already put up to the top because you're Aryan at that point. And even though what's funny about it, fun fact is that Aryans actually were from the, I think it was the Indo-European area, which when you think about it, Indo-European is in the Stan areas, like Kazakhstan. I forgot the name of the other stands, but you got like Turkmenistan. And if you have like that region where you even Turkey, just to think of actual Aryans, we're actually having dark hair and dark skin. And by that I just mean darker than Caucasian, not sub-Saharan black or even Indian. I mean actual just dark hair, dark skin. So, or darker skin at least. So it's just kind of odd how you have that turn for even Hitler to accept, to say, okay, they have blonde hair and blue eyes when the actual Aryan or the Indo-European origin, or original people were had the darker skin and dark hair. So that was just kind of odd that he would even try to attempt that reason. I mean, it's just funny. Some of the things you see today when they say Aryans, it's like it's a caricature of itself. It's just satirical. But anyways, as I was stating, it's funny how they were dividing as well. Just how blacks say, oh, that's not considered really black, which reminds me of this one at my job one time where this individual where I stated that I read the SLAs. Sometimes I do read the SLAs, especially if my money's involved. Which is funny how you say, oh, you take a personal interest, and I believe that some people at one point or another should read an SLA just once. So once you read it, every other SLA they kind of follow the same terms. So you can skim over them and be like, okay, I understand this. Like I forgot what the name of the terminology is within SLA, where they have it where they state that you actually have to settle outside of court. I forget what the name of that SLA is, or the name of that term. However, if you do sign SLAs, rather than suing them up front, they actually have terms where if you sign their document, you can't. Once you sign it, there can't be a class action case. And the thing is, you can still sue them, of course. However, if they bring that up in court, then you could wind up losing, depending on how the judge judges the statement. Because even if you say you're bound by this agreement, if the agreement is also against certain laws or practices, then that agreement can also be forfeited as well. So, but I guess it's all about who can argue the best case. So if someone doesn't bring up the SLA, then they can still lose the case, even if it's supposed to be supported within the SLA. But now the thing is just about when people think what is actually black. 'Cause I remember I saw one thing where Gandhi was part of Black history, and they were actually considered black at some point. At least in like I said, at some point they were considered that. However, they were like, oh no, we're separate. And to be honest with you, you have to separate that terminology, because I saw this one thing where there's these Jara people where they kind of have like the little high cheekbones and their front teeth show a bit. Now they are, if you looked at them, you're like, oh, they're black. But then if you look at their facial features, you would notice that these people around this way, they almost look like they're related to this one group. But even though you may say, oh, they might be related from the same family, since there's so many of them, it's like, oh, they're from this different ethnic background. And they are of a different ethnic background. And that's almost as though they're different people, similar to how you have the South Mediterranean or Irish or whatnot. Those are different individuals. And like they have a different ethnic background. So they're going to have different features, and that's just how that works out. But the issue is that some people like to clump these individuals into groups such as race, which is complicated because it doesn't exist. It's a social construct. So it's kind of tough when you're trying to base a social construct on biology. Even though it does have its basis in biology, however, it's been used to fit one's own agenda. But speaking of which of agendas, back to Black Lives Matter, the issue I did have with them was that they only seem to focus purely on. They seem to be focused purely on. Oh, looks like I found the other spot. See, I didn't even really have to count. But anyways, I'm saying they only focus on police incidents, which I'm thinking there's so many other incidents you could focus on rather than the police incidents. Such as, you could say the black on black crime, even though it's just crime itself. But however, I wouldn't even want just to focus just entirely on places like Chicago, because it's only clumped in one area. It's not a... You look at a place like Chicago, Chicago is only one area. It's concentrated in one area. So people will say, oh, these people have failed based on... Like, these policies have failed because of... Well, you know, they say that these policies have failed, or they say, oh, look at this city where there's a bunch of black people at. Policies have failed. See how violent they are, and it's in Chicago. You look at a place that I'm in, even though it can have a similar context, or it has similar results. It's not as bad as that, but still, the issue is that I think the issue is that what do you call it? Oh, yeah, the issue is that people like to use that for their own agenda. It reminds me of the... Oh wait, before I get to that, I'll put a pin in that, but the prison thing. I just want to say that just so it's marked. Well, anyway, let's say with the Black Lives Matter thing, the issue is they only want to focus on police brutality, and I'm thinking there's other things you can focus on, such as... I saw one thing where they're speaking of institutional racism, even though, like I said, I don't believe that it exists exactly, but what we're seeing now is just a fallout of it. I mean, think about years of oppression. Even if you look at the drug epidemic, which in itself was targeting other individuals, it was targeting mainly individuals that were black, and they were saying just say no. Now you see what's going on with this meth epidemic that's going on right now, and no one's gonna say to them, oh, just say no. And I think the issue is, like, even though some things they did do to some people might say some of the things they did to the black people were actually foul. However, I believe they are doing it a bit worse when it comes to the methamphetamine crisis because of the notion. Just because of the notion that they want to actually give them support. Like, someone actually told me about these individuals actually are creating. These individuals actually are creating facilities where these people can still shoot up and it'll be illegal. And I'm thinking, wait, can you imagine if someone said, okay, you smoking crack, it's illegal, however, you are entirely the victim. We won't blame you. Like, we're not going to do it like the crack epidemic. We're not going to blame you, but we're going to allow you to, we're going to allow you to do this even more, which I'm thinking black people or the people that at least were addicts in that facility, in that time period, in the 80s, during the crack epidemic, they were getting slapped upside the head. They were getting slapped upside their head so many times that they were like, okay, you know what, we're done. They just say, like, they say, oh, we'll stop. However, when you look at the individuals in the, the predominantly white communities now, or at least now, because before it was, oh, you'll be fine. However, now in these communities, they're saying, okay, you can keep going. See, now it's like, why would they have any incentive to stop? Because now they accept, like, oh, and I think the issue is that they actually are going to keep these individuals addicted to this thing. So if you want to say anything about the privilege, this privilege is going against them. Why does it not work? Oh, dear. Put the door in the wrong area. But my thing is that, like I said, my issue is that, like, right now it seems as though they're gonna wind up extending this epidemic if they keep at it. If they keep going in this way, then I only see an extension of this epidemic, which is something I wouldn't want to see. I could care less about, like me myself, I care less about race, which is why I'm tired of even saying it. But however, you have to say it just so you get your point across, because that's what everyone, that's the terminology that people are thinking is the race. So But my idea is that I could care less about it, but I'm actually looking from a humanist standpoint where these individuals will remain addicted because of these government sanctioned programs where they'll say, okay, who's to blame here? I don't know if you've seen Vice where this individual wanted to ask these people questions. He's like, yep, see, I put them in a twist. I put them in a twist. They're like, no, you didn't put them in a twist. They're shifting the blame, and no, they don't want to accept blame, because if they accept it, they'll go to jail, and no one wants to go to jail. I mean, if you could say, okay, tell the truth and try to help us find a solution, no one's going to do that, because people were peddling these drugs because people were depressed, because they see depression as an actual disease itself, not something like, okay, cheer up, listen to some good music. Oh, see, if you can get cured by listening to some happy music or having a better lifestyle, if that's the cure itself, then no one really considered that a disease. I mean, it's like saying obesity is a disease, but it can be cured with exercise. It's like, really? That's not a disease. Disease is something you need medicine to cure. However, some diseases have been cured by fitness. So you can say depression is a disease, even though it is a mindset, though. It's almost like saying some people, it's like saying that sadness, it's similar to saying that sadness is a disease, or happiness is or just their emotional state, negative emotional states is a disease. Like anger is a disease. I mean, you could view it as a disease and maybe you can treat it as such. However, you shouldn't give people pills just because of adverse side effects. The best medicine is for them I believe it would be something in regards to therapy. Though you could say give them pills as a means, if they were really down, if they really were at risk to themselves, then yes, you should possibly give them some type of sedative just to prevent them from trying to take their own lives. Then yes, I believe you should use that. Though in a long-term effect, I believe that you should try and, they're going to have to do this themselves. They might have to go through therapy, maybe find some form of religion. There's something that helps them with their well-being. Or maybe find out why are they depressed. If they're thinking their life is meaningless, then yes, I believe that they should try to find some form of a religious belief, just because I know that helps you accept certain things. And it's not as though let's just join a religion so that they can accept these belief systems. It's more or less having them accept this belief system is more or less something to give their life meaning. Even though I myself do believe in God, in the concept, even though I'm not really sure what I would label myself as, because I thought of like a Unitarian type concept where I believe we're all connected, but then also even thought of, and like right now I'm only sticking with deism to the point where I don't believe in miracles, but I believe that regardless of even I say, okay, God exists. Like my concept is, okay, God exists, Jesus was around, or Emmanuel. If you read the text, it said his name was Emmanuel. Jesus was just a title. But I'll have to cite that source later. I'll bring it up probably in the next video. My idea was that it's saying that miracles are fine, and that's it. Like don't try to focus on the turning water into wine. Focus on the teachings. Focus on the concept of peace and trying to better yourself and help other individuals. Focus on that philosophy rather than, oh, this guy turned water into wine. Oh, they were walking on water. They came back 3 days after dying. That's impressive. However, even if you look at the concept of the X-Men, Wolverine can heal, but he doesn't have a peace of mind, which is not something I would want. When people say, "Oh, would you want to be immortal?" Yes, if I had peace of mind. If you have peace of mind, I think that's better. I think that's better than any superpower you could potentially have. Like to have well-being, overall well-being. That's more substantial than any healing factor. Because if you have that superpower, then you're going to be miserable and depressed. Then no, there's no point in having that. I believe you should expand on the concept of being happy, if you are, and if not, then you need to focus on that idea. But as I was saying, back to the Black Lives Matter individuals, they only focused on that. I never seen them protest at Ferguson. Or wait, not Ferguson. And what's that city called? Flint. They didn't see them protest at Flint. I never heard any news stories. I'm not sure if they just immediately didn't get to them, or they actually didn't give out bottles to these individuals. They didn't try to do any they didn't do any source crowd funding to try to get Flint back in order. I don't know who you would give the money to. You give it to the politicians, that'd be wrong. Try to have some private organization where say, okay, we're gonna, or even them taking their own time out, because you're taking time out to protest. You tell me you cannot go to the grocery store, get a 3 for $10 packs of water. You tell me you can't get a water generator out back, or even let's just stick with the water bottles. You tell me you can't get 3 for $10, spend $100, take a 35 pack bottle of water or containers of water, right? And spend $10 on that. You telling me you can't get 30 of those, you can't tell me you can spend $100 on that, which is 10 of those, which is 350 bottles. You tell me that all of those protests, think about it, 300 of them spending $100, that gives you 30,000. 30,000. Think about that. That's 30,000. That's $30,000 right there. $30,000 worth of the $10, which means that's 3,000 containers, which you multiply that by 35, that is 105. Wait a second, I'm trying to make sure I got the math right. Yeah, that's 105. Yeah, that's actually like 100. Wait, I lost I lost track of that. But yeah, if you take let's say 30,000, yeah, that's 100. Yeah, that's 105. That's 105,000 bottles. And I forgot how many people are affected, but you cannot tell me that these individuals can't pay for that water. All I'm saying is that these individuals have the means to help these individuals out, but I don't see them doing that. And maybe it's just because the people that are in charge of it are similar to one person when I stated that I read the SLA. They said to me, "You're not one of us." I said, "Oh, you're not one of us," because he didn't know the idea. I guess for him, he didn't even have a hard work ethic. He didn't have really a great work ethic. So me reading an SLA does seem like a lot of work to him. Like, oh, I don't read that. We don't read. Oh, yeah. Black people don't read. I guess you went right. You actually went back to the slave days actually at that point, because the individuals during the Jim Crow did want to read, did read. So I'm like, you went way back. So, don't tell. So you're not part of the future, because the people that are part of the future now aren't those ignorant individuals. They are informed, not the individuals that say they're woke all the time. I mean, you can be woke, but then the only thing is, if you're saying that you're woke the whole time, who are you trying to convince? And I don't need to say that to win an argument. Say, like, appeal to authority. I'm woke, therefore my argument's correct. No. And my idea is, the notion is that how these individuals, like I said, they want to only support police brutality. That's it. Well, I saw this one thing, What the Health, I believe it was, where this individual was saying a form of institutional racism, where I guess maybe Ben Shapiro could try to focus on this, because he actually said, give me some evidence and I'll try to help you out, was what they said the dairy industry could be considered racist, only because they were stating that a lot of black people, I'm not sure how many black people, I know some individuals that are lactose intolerant. I myself am not, but these individuals say they're lactose intolerant, and since they're lactose intolerant, the government propagating the diet or the food pyramid where they say they need to drink more milk could be considered a form of that, only because this is not good for their health, and you're saying, okay, let's keep recommending these individuals to keep drinking milk. Though even though you could argue that at this time period, if they know that they can't drink milk, they don't have to, even if these people are recommending that. However, if your government is recommending that you smoke cigarettes as a great health is a great health benefit, then they can get sued for that, and that's how it works out. So you can't get mad at the other individuals if they were to sue the government for even trying to, or sue someone, whoever's controlling that. they they would. Sorry, I'm getting a bit tongue tied. No, but they themselves could argue that case, because at the end of the day, that is an institution, and this institution should know that these individuals are mostly lactose intolerant. Therefore, you could say, since they know that and they're only focusing on these individuals, or they're propagating that standard, then you could say that's an institution and that's racism, since it's hurting individuals that happen to be, of a certain race. Anyways, back to what I was saying about about the prison industry, was that I believe that one thing I would say is, I don't know why they always want to focus on the criminals, not the individuals why not focus on individuals that are going through college? Start a, what do you call it? Not a charity, but a grant, even though I do believe in the meritocracy. I'm saying, if you want to do this whole quote unquote lack lives, then I don't know why you would expect them to do things in their favor, such as, let's say if you had of individual races where you had similar individuals where, there's white power movements, and they're saying, oh, I want to focus on these individuals, on these particular individuals. Then if that's what they want to do, then that's them, even though I disagree with that. Oh dear. He's a bit late for the party. But anyway, as I was saying, if they want to focus on these individuals, then that is on them. But my thing is just that at least these individuals are consistent with a racist ideology. Now, you look at individuals with Black Lives Matter, it don't seem as though they themselves could be considered similar to the individuals that actually are the white supremacists, because what are they doing to really help out? All they're doing is sitting and complaining, rather than trying to hurt anyone. They're not even really helping them, and they are doing just hurting the image. Just sitting around complaining, waiting for someone to save them, which you could argue that's part of epigenetics. But the only thing is, not even sure if you could really state that. But you could argue a case of that. Like, you could say, has one being a slave for so long affected their offspring? I believe yes, but in what ways? Did it give individuals a hard work ethic? And if these individuals had the hard work ethic, now these individuals don't have any overseers over them. Do they need someone to yell at them to get them to start working hard? What is the idea? Do they need music to work? Even though music does boost work productivity. So I know some individuals can't listen to it, though I do find that to help out. And I know individuals are different. And I'm not saying based on the race or the epigenetics standpoint, but however, someone could do some research into that, to take a look at it. Do any of the practices from slavery, does that help out with? Was that a trait that wasn't present before slavery? Or if that is a trait that does exist now, is there any traits that exist because of slavery that is now present within the black community that is either benefiting it or hurting it? Or just this is a trait that's, like, if it was hard work ethic, let's say if you want to go, say, the continent of, where they were on the West African region, if they were there and let's say they didn't have a good work ethic, but then as soon as they were slaves, now you have individuals that are now, or after slavery, now they have great work ethic, then I would say, okay, epigenetics, I do believe there's a concept there. I know it does work in rats or mice. However, I'm uncertain how that really affects people, or how long that would really take to affect them, or in which traits. Because they said the one rat where it had a scent of lemon. I saw this on the Joe Rogan podcast. They had a scent of lemon and their feet got shocked. Then when their offspring smelled lemon, they also got scared because of that. I'm not sure how many generations that would take and what that would mean. I don't think it's as ridiculous as black people getting scared of anything that's light. But I do believe there are some things that might be present. I'm not sure what there is, just because you could look in some history books. You can't really watch any movies because they have a lot of propaganda in it. You have to actually read a book to get the actual full story of it. Because there's some things where he said slavery was worse than what is actually shown in the films, and some things weren't as wild as it, like the closest form of it may have been in 12 Years a Slave, where depending on where he was at, it seemed alright for the other individuals, except when he was getting brought there by the other individuals, like not the man. It's funny when you think about it. The master itself wasn't actually the issue. It was like the overseer or the other individuals that were mistreating him. Like the catcher was treating them a lot worse than the guy that, what's his name, Hubert Cumber, his character that he played, the guy, I think it was like Hubert Cumber or something. And that is the case. And there is some cases where you're gonna just have the nice people who may be in the master, some nice people who might have been working along with them and overseer. But then again, that's a topic for another time. However, this is what I was just saying, is that's just my issue with the Black Lives Matter individuals. That's all they want to really focus on. I mean, maybe, hopefully later they can change to focus on the unfortunate individuals, and I just don't like that hypocrisy, just what they focus on. I mean, even the All Lives Matter movements, well, we already know they were already hypocritical. But however, still, we wish that, like I said, I wish that they would try to combine forces, so to speak. Like I said, don't focus on, government and whatnot, because, we ourselves are the government. We actually do make up the policies. If enough of us say, let's go one way, politicians if you think of the typical politician, or at least not the non-romantic version of politician, being someone who only wants to focus on their votes and staying in office, then whatever the people want, they're not going to do things that are too controversial to themselves, which at that point means that whatever everyone is thinking, then they should accept themselves. But as I was saying, that's just that was just my notion of it. But what I'm doing now is just trying to check and see if, I don't know if that's large enough. I might have to make another pillar. Just make multiple pillars rather than making one large pillar. Just make a large one so I can find my way back, depending on whichever direction I go in. Well, alright, people. It's been fun talking with you. I think I'm done talking with the BLM activists. And this is Mr. Shaker, and I'm out.